Brett Kavanaugh is one of the finest human beings you will ever have the privilege of knowing or meeting.
The Senate has a responsibility here. They have to make sure it's fair, and they have got to take the politics out of this situation.
Judge Kavanaugh does not have the burden of proving his innocence. He has said he was not present.
We have to get out for the midterms. Promise me. Don't be complacent. The new platform of the Democrat Party is radical socialism and open borders. I won't allow the United States to become the next Venezuela.
The president's attorneys come closer to an agreement with Mueller. The president has ordered the declassification of documents.
Anyone who said there isn't politics in the intelligence community ought to read these emails and read these text messages.
It has to come to an end. It's so bad for our country. I call it the witch hunt.
The Browns win. The Browns beating the New York Jets, 21-17 for their first win in almost 2 years.
You know I love it when you get to shine. You and me be rocking all night long.
Live from New York City, Friday, September 21st. It's Fox and Friends.
It is.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's a Friday. Ed's filling in for Ryan today.
How are you?
We're glad to have you here.
Well, thanks so much. Happy birthday, a day late.
Thank you. It was the best
Yeah.
day. Yeah, I had a wonderful day. Thank y'all all for all the happy birthdays on social media. I felt it was just really fun. It was I stayed up really late. I stayed up until about 11:56 last night. Till the very end, and it was just awesome. So thanks for making it special.
That's awesome. You probably got a chance to see the president then, because Sean had him live on the Fox News channel. Remarkable rally out there in Las Vegas.
That's right. Of course, he was out there to rally the GOP base to get out there and vote for Dean Heller. He was appearing at the convention center in Las Vegas. In addition to campaigning for him, also campaigning for congressional candidates Crescent Hardy and Danny Tarkanian, and the Republican candidate for governor, Adam Laxalt. And the president made it very clear politics is on his mind, and there's a lot of politics regarding the Kavanaugh nomination.
I think it's a very sad situation. He's an outstanding person. And frankly, Sean, to see what's going on is just very, very sad. You say, why didn't somebody call the FBI 36 years ago? I mean, you could also say, when did this all happen? What's going on? To take a man like this and besmirch. Now, with that being said, let her have her say, and let's see how it all works out. But I don't think you can delay it any longer. They've delayed it a week already. And you've been very accommodating. I have been accommodating. I say, let her say what she has to say, and let's see how it all comes out. But they've delayed it a week, and they have to get on with it.
And the big question is, it sounded like, until late last night, it sounded like the hearing was going to be Monday. And if she didn't show, she wasn't going to show. Mr. Kavanaugh made it clear he would come, but if she didn't talk, why would he show up? And then, as it turns out, her attorney, Ms. Katz, called the committee, and they talked for about a half an hour, and they started negotiating an appearance, which is unusual for congressional testimony.
Especially since it started with the accuser saying she wanted to be heard. And so the Republicans have spent the last week saying, okay, we want to hear you. Let's have a hearing on Monday. Right. And she didn't initially want to do that. And now you see her team trying to dictate the terms of that testimony.
Yeah, they have listed a few terms. They say she'll only talk. She's agreed to be interviewed by the committee only, no questions from lawyers. Says that Judge Kavanaugh cannot be in the room when she's testifying, and that Judge Kavanaugh has to testify first.
Well, the reason, according to the Washington Post, they say that she didn't want any lawyers asking the questions because her attorney doesn't want to make it look like she's on trial. And also, she would like to have the optics of all these men asking her questions.
The senators are all men on the Judiciary Committee of the Republicans, so
that's right.
They would like the optics of the Republican sort of men ganging up on Dr. Ford, whereas if you have lawyers brought in, obviously the Republicans will bring in male lawyers and female lawyers and spread it out a little bit, so it would be a different option.
Well, Judge Napolitano was on with us yesterday, and he said there's no way that he should testify first. You have to hear from her, the accuser, first, and then he can defend himself. But he said he would never recommend that Judge Kavanaugh talk first. But Judge Kavanaugh, he sent a letter to Senator Grassley, and he said, thank you for the invitation to appear before the Senate Committee on the Judiciary on Monday, September 24th. I will be there.
That's right. Meanwhile, here's part of it. I continue to want a hearing as soon as possible so that I can clear my name. Since the moment I first heard this allegation, I have categorically and unequivocally denied it. I remain committed to defending my integrity. Now, apparently, a high-ranking person in the Senate did talk to the Washington Post last night, and they said the idea of having Mr. Kavanaugh go first is a non-starter. That doesn't make any sense.
He needs to hear what the allegation is.
Exactly right. We should also point out that Dr. Christine Ford's attorney said Monday, not possible. Might be able to do it later in the week. So where we stand right now is she has set out these negotiating points where she would like them met. Apparently Chuck Grassley is going to pool the, talk to the audience of his colleagues and try to figure out where to go from here. Will it be Monday? Doesn't look like she's going to be there. Would it be Tuesday? Kavanaugh says he's ready to be there any day, anytime.
Well, Dr. Ford certainly deserves to be heard. That's what the Republicans on the committee have been saying they want to do. But Judge Kavanaugh deserves a right to defend himself after hearing what the actual accusations are. He hasn't actually heard it. He's read a story in the Washington Post, but has insisted he wasn't even necessarily at this party that allegedly happened. Ben Shapiro last night was talking about how there seem to be different standards. Why is it that the accuser's words seem to have more weight in this political debate than Judge Kavanaugh's denial? Watch.
The idea that justice, truth, and guilt and innocence, that these things can be decided simply by appeal to men are bad and women must always be believed, it's absurd. You have to have some standard of evidence before you destroy a man's life. You at least have to give him the chance to defend himself. Democrats are now saying things like, if he even defends himself, he's insulting the woman. This is all insanity, and again, it's demonstrative of the fact that if we really wanted to get to the truth of the situation, if Democrats really gave one crap about this, what Democrats would be doing is putting this woman in front of a hearing, calling whatever witnesses they could, and then they would be attempting to bolster her
from her when she testified, also very concerned about her safety, said, I hope you realize she's been getting death threats. And of course, Mr.
That's
Kavanaugh
really important. But Judge Kavanaugh's family has been getting vile emails. Some of them were released yesterday, and death threats as well. So neither side should be dealing with that kind of nonsense. Horrible.
Yeah, I really hope that she does agree to talk so that we can hear her side of the story and hear his side of the story. Any of the alleged witnesses, they have said that they are not going to be testifying.
And it sounds as if the Ford team wanted to figure out what house it may have happened at, because it was the house closest to the golf course, and then realized whose house it was and looked at a picture of the young man who lived there at the time, who was a classmate of Mr. Kavanaugh's, put up side-by-side images. They look a lot alike.
So
really?
Is it a case of mistaken identity? Exactly. Now, Dr. Ford put out a statement last night insisting she knows the difference between Judge Kavanaugh and this other person, and there's no chance. So we'll see. But take one step back and think about this. A few weeks ago, we were teeing up that this is going to be amazing. This is going to be a real clash of ideas. They're going to talk about abortion. They're going to talk about gun rights, all of these big things before the high court. And what happened before Dr. Ford came out? They had those 3 or 4 days of confirmation hearings. And from the opening moments, it was resist. It was protesters screaming, shouting down Dr. Kavanaugh, shouting down senators. The Spartacus moment, all of that was a circus before we even got to this. And now, instead of hearing from this woman, instead, all the focus has been about politics and all of that instead of the actual substance of the allegations.
Well, those were her terms. Her attorney gave those 3 terms. The last term is Kavanaugh should be questioned first. He might say, I don't agree to that. I need to hear what she's accusing me of exactly before I can go, under oath and say this didn't happen. He needs to hear from her first. So that might be, some people are saying that's a political stunt. She's actually saying that because she actually is not going to talk, and that will be her reason because Kavanaugh's not going to testify first. We'll have to see.
I don't think it's up to Kavanaugh. I think it's up to the senators. So it'll be interesting to see how Chuck Grassley and company, and even the Senate Majority Leader, because there's some suggestion that he, I saw one of Laura Ingram's tweets last night, he might be thinking about moving the hearing to the future.
So if it's not up to Kavanaugh, it's not up to her either, right? It's the senators who make the rules.
It's a negotiation.
Right. And it's supposed to be Monday. Now we're hearing it may be pushed back to next Thursday. So we'll see where it all goes.
Okay, turning now to some more headlines, starting with a Fox News alert. While you were sleeping, a suspect is shot dead in a police shootout in Miami. We want to warn you, the video you're about to see might be disturbing.
Oh my God, what is that?
unidentified man shooting at police and the FBI with an AK-47 during an investigation near Miami International Airport. No police officers, thank goodness, were hurt. It's unclear why the man was under investigation. The FBI's terrorism task force investigating after a student pilot is charged with trying to steal a plane. Nishal Sankat is accused of hopping a fence and sneaking into an empty passenger jet at Melbourne Airport, which is in Orlando. Airport workers forced to tackle him and take him off the plane. Right now, the motive is unknown. He is originally from Trinidad and Tobago, and he now faces a visa violation. Well, Dog the Bounty Hunter joining a search for a man who threatened to kill the president. The reality TV star says he has a very hot lead on Sean Richard Christie. The Pennsylvania man has been on the run since June after writing a Facebook post about shooting President Trump. Investigators think that he might be in Ohio after abandoning a stolen truck. Dog tells local reporters he wants to convince Christie to surrender. The Cleveland Browns break their 635th game losing streak, beating the New York Jets 21-17.
They haven't lost that much.
Marking their first win in almost 2 years. Is that number correct?
It's 365.
635 days.
Yeah, not games.
Not games.
Yeah, that would be many years.
We would have been talking about it a long time ago if that were the case. All right, bars across the city finally unlocking their Bud Light victory fridges, handing out the free beers. The beer maker promised those free beers for everyone after the Browns' first win of the season. Fans celebrating as if they had won the Super Bowl. Finally, Cleveland police,
One game.
right, tweeting, "We won." Wait, oh God, the free beer thing. Okay, Cleveland, stay calm, go Browns. And Tom saying, haven't even left downtown Cleveland, and I've seen 3 fans passed out on the sidewalks. Those are your headlines.
The police had a follow-up tweet saying, Joel is a Jets fan.
Very
Sorry,
sad
Joel.
news.
Joel wears Jets gear
Joel
every
sad.
single day. Sorry, Joel.
The police did say take Uber or make sure you don't drive drunk. They had a
Absolutely.
follow-up tweet.
Absolutely.
So we want to point that out.
Oh, my. All right. Anyway, on this Friday, he has been out of the league for nearly 3 years after kneeling during the anthem. But Colin Kaepernick is perhaps about to sign with the team. We're going to tell you what we know.
Plus, the suspect charged with murdering a jogger in Washington is now thankfully behind bars. As her family prepares to say their final goodbye, Jillian spoke with her grieving mother. You're not going to miss that live next.
Her wedding dress, but I never imagined that dress was the dress for her burial.
Before Nexium 24 Hour, Mark could only imagine a peaceful night's sleep without frequent.
Here's a story we've been following. A female jogger stabbed to death on a D.C. street just days after she got engaged. This surveillance video showing the moments Wendy Martinez stumbled into a nearby restaurant seeking help.
Police in less than 48 hours arresting the man they believe committed such a senseless act.
And Jillian Mealy is down in D.C. She's been following this story and talked to the family yesterday. Jillian, what's the latest?
Yeah, you know, that surveillance video is really graphic to watch. And it's all thanks to good policing, surveillance video, as we mentioned, and tips. The police were able to arrest 23-year-old Anthony Crawford in a short period of time, just 48 hours, in a senseless act that at this point they really just can't explain. They say it's so random and unprovoked. We spoke with her family in the very place where she had her final moments.
Her wedding dress, I saw her. I was here last weekend and we went to the store for that reason. But I never imagined that dress was the dress for her burial. That was my daughter. A person that was very loving. She had a lot of dreams and she loved her community and she was very proud to be a Latina.
What are you thinking looking at this? The sneakers, the flowers?
I feel appreciation.
Over the course of my almost 30 years in policing, This does not happen. This type of thing really doesn't happen hardly at all, almost never. I have a little bit of difficulty talking about this in detail. The injury that she suffered was very, very serious. There were multiple witnesses that were on the scene that had given us a description that was consistent with the person of interest in the video.
People have cameras all over their homes nowadays. Police need that, right?
Police need it. It's a new valuable tool that police officers use in their various investigations.
And also good policing.
Oh, absolutely. What we found here was Washington finest. What you had were beat police officers who knew the community. What you had were detectives who knew how to conduct investigations. And you had citizen involvement. Those three was a concoction that led to a suspect in the murder here of Wendy Martinez.
One of the things that I would like to say is it was really kind of refreshing to see that the people who saw her in this very serious condition, their first thought was to try and help her. The only thing that we can do is bring some closure to the family and then make the community feel safer when we take a person like this off the street.
The outpouring of support for your sister, what is that like?
It's incredible. It's something that I would have never expected. Honestly, it's one of the most beautiful things that I've ever seen, and that's why I can't lose my faith in humanity.
Her family, honestly, so strong at this moment, and they say prayer has been pulling them through, saying her life was a true testament of her faith and belief in the Lord. I'll send it back to you guys.
All right, thanks. What a strong family to deal with this.
Yeah, obviously that video that we put out and everybody else put out probably cracked the case because you could clearly tell a lot about the person.
Right.
All right, a lot coming up.
All right, another news. Brett Kavanaugh's accuser setting her own terms to testify before the Senate. So what happens if she talks publicly and actually sinks his nomination? The potential impact on the midterms coming up next.
Take us downtown.
Inquisitive mind. Monthly subscriptions start at just $2.99 a month. Long live the curious. Start your free trial today at curiositystream.com.
All right, 6:24 in the morning on this Friday. Some quick headlines for you. First up, abortions will soon be free in the country of Ireland. The announcement comes just one day after the country repealed its ban on the procedure. Irish women used to travel to Europe to get abortions since it was made illegal in 1983. The new free procedure could be available as early as January. Now to Tijuana, Mexico, which is taking a page out of San Francisco's playbook, focusing more on the environment than on their crime rate. The city banning plastic bags. The move comes as the murder rate skyrockets, shattering records with nearly 2,000 homicides so far this year. All right, Ainsley and Ed.
Thank you, Steve. The Kavanaugh accusers' legal team laying out a new set of terms before Christine Ford is willing to sit down for a potential interview.
Now, Ford's attorney saying she's willing to talk with the Senate Judiciary panel as long as no lawyers are involved in the questioning. Brett Kavanaugh is not in the room and that he is questioned first before her.
Here to react to this is Ron Bonjean. He's the former communications Sherpa for Justice Neil Gorsuch during his Senate confirmation hearing. Thank you so much for being with us, Ron.
Thanks for having me.
So we're going through different scenarios, what-if scenarios. And the first one I want to ask you about is, let's say the president says, you know what, we only have 4 more weeks until the midterm elections. Kavanaugh's being questioned. We don't have enough time to get him through. Let me nominate someone else. Do we have enough time, if he decides to do that, to nominate someone else and have them confirmed before the midterms?
Yeah, that's really unclear. And I don't know if there's going to be enough time, but what it will definitely do is energize conservative voters. They're going to be very angry that this seems like this came out of nowhere, that Senator Feinstein delayed sending this letter over, and that we're in this situation we're at when this issue could have been brought up during his testimony, could have been brought up in a variety of ways throughout the process, and that this unorthodox charge and the circumstance led to the situation. So I think it would definitely fire up conservative voters in a variety of states and could help us win seats.
Now, Ron, this week we've seen some of the Republican swing votes like Susan Collins, who were not necessarily going to be there to support Kavanaugh, seem to be gravitating at least a little towards him because they were upset that Dr. Ford's team originally said we want to be heard, and then it didn't appear like they were going to show up next week at all for any kind of testimony. She was saying, you got to come forward, you got to talk. What if she does talk, Dr. Ford, and is very effective? Could that be devastating with some of these swing votes?
If she does talk and she is very effective, right, this is a jump ball. So if she is very effective, then it's going to be a jump ball. Then Senator Collins, Senator Murkowski of Alaska, and a few other Republican senators may decide to vote no. And if that's the case, then we have a big problem. But it's hard to say. She may have holes in her story. She may not recall the events that were understanding that she may not know where she was at. And those type of things could sink her testimony as well.
All right. Now, she is being, from what I'm reading some articles, that Dr. Ford is being prepped by the same person that prepped Anita Hill. Do you know more about that?
Well, no, but the delay tactics, the demand, putting on demands on the testimony, having a political, aid from the Obama and Clinton years, that just smacks of politics. And I think that's a big mistake on her part. I mean, I think she should just be confident, come forward, present her testimony, and let the Senate hear it. Instead, you get this delay tactics, and that puts a scent of politics around the whole thing.
Ron, on that point of politics, last question here and last scenario. We heard yesterday Sheldon Whitehouse, the senator from Rhode Island, who's been very aggressive in his questioning of Judge Kavanaugh and the Judiciary Committee, is saying even if the witness, Dr. Ford, ends up not being effective and Kavanaugh is very effective and gets confirmed, Senator Whitehouse is saying if the Democrats take the House and maybe even the Senate, they will investigate Justice Kavanaugh. They will launch investigations, and so this resist movement will continue once he's on the high court.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me because he'll be confirmed and he'll be Supreme Court Justice. It'll be a giant waste of time. You can't get rid of a Supreme Court Justice. You can investigate all you want, but what's that going to do? I think it's just rhetoric to feed the left and to keep them happy right now before the election, because I think Kavanaugh is going to get through. I think he's going to get confirmed. These delay tactics and these demands and stipulations feels like she may not testify. And if she does, we'll have to see what happens. But, right now, it smacks of politics to me.
All right, Ron Bongean, we appreciate your insight this morning.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
Well, he just praised police a few days ago, but now Democratic darling Beto O'Rourke is saying this. Listen.
That system of suspecting somebody solely based on the color of their skin. Some have called this, I think it is an apt description, the new Jim Crow.
New Jim Crow, Diamond and Silk on that coming up next.
Plus, Michael Moore just made a huge promise about his new movie. Someone better start packing his bags.
Sometimes the pressures of today's world can make it tough
for your car or anywhere you are. Get a great offer at SiriusXM.com/GetSXM.
The forces opposing us in Washington are the same people who squandered trillions of dollars overseas, who oversaw the greatest transfer of wealth in the history of the world. The American people voted to reject this corrupt globalism. I'm the President of the United States. I'm not the President of the globe. We are making America greater than ever before.
There you got the President of the United States. You saw him live here on the channel last night. He was out in Vegas. Let's go down to Diamond and Silk World Headquarters. Of course, they have been to many Trump rallies. Ladies, what did you think of the president last night in Sin City?
Amazing. Yeah. He has been consistent in his efforts
to making America great again. So now we have to keep America great. We keep America great by going to the polls and making sure we vote Republican, making sure we head to the polls and send a message to Washington and send a message to the left that their antic and their rhetoric will not be tolerated.
That's right.
Well, and you both have been talking about how Democrats should not take for granted the support of African American voters. Beto O'Rourke down in Texas is Democratic congressman taking on Republican Ted Cruz. We've already heard anti-police rhetoric for years now, going back to the Obama administration, but it sounds like he's taking it to a new level. Listen to this.
That injustice, too many more people here than I know firsthand, continues to persist today. That system of suspecting somebody solely based on the color of skin, searching that person solely based on the color of their skin is why some have called this, I think it is an apt description, the new Jim Crow.
So, ladies, what do you think about the new Jim Crow, he says, in terms of police officers?
Well, first of all, the Democratic Party is the epiphany of the new Jim Crow day. These left-leaning liberals, that's who owns the Jim Crow day, and they subject that on the will of the American people.
Why do you say that? Why do you say that?
Well, well, here's why I say that. Whenever you have these left-leaning liberals that owns different entities and they discriminate against you based on the color of your politics, that's the new Jim Crow day. Whenever you have social media platforms owned by white liberals that discriminate against you because you voted for someone or because you're patriotic, that's the new Jim Crow days. So to blame people that protect and serve our country, to blame them, that's wrong. The Democratic Party was the one that created the Jim Crow days, and now we're living in the new Jim Crow days because of them.
All right, in other news, ladies, back in January of 2017, the president implemented the travel ban. Well, there's now word that Google, they got together, they were talking about the search functions, and they agreed it actually didn't happen, they said, but they were talking about changing the search functions.
Tweak it a little bit
so that if you Googled that information of what the president was doing, it would show users how to contribute to pro-immigration organizations and how to contact lawmakers and government agencies.
So if they were going to do that, what haven't they already done?
That's right.
Manipulating, colluding together in order to stop something. I mean, it's very, very sad. Again, I am not for big government, but our government to step in and break up this monopoly.
That's right.
These people have the capability of controlling the masses and telling us what we can and cannot see. You all, I'm sorry. That's
right.
Tyranny. That's dictatorship. And we're going to have to shut this down.
And the sad thing is the same thing that they're blaming Russia for doing, they are doing. They are the one that's interfering in an election, and they are the one that should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law for doing it.
That's right.
Well, ladies, they always, whether it is Google, a search engine, or the social media companies, they always say, we may lean to the left, we're in California and whatnot, but we are right down the middle. But they are able to hide behind their mysterious algorithms. We don't know how those things work. We trust them. And yet when we saw some of the heads of those companies in Capitol Hill, you get a little queasy thinking, they're doing a lot of apologizing for things that they've made mistakes over in the past, and maybe they still have their thumb on the scale.
There's no such thing as a mistake. They're doing this here deliberately to win an election. We have to continue to call a thing a thing. This is not a hoax. Diamond and Silk told you all what was going on back in April. We told you on the Hill what was going on, and now it's proving itself out.
Right. How effective do you think it is? Do you think it really influences an election?
Oh, listen, what they're doing, yes. Whenever they try to silence people's voices, silence conservative voices, anybody that tags President Trump in their Facebook post, now they want to make sure you're not a Russia bot.
Right.
They're trying to make sure Diamond and Silk are not Russia bots. So we have to verify ourselves again on the verified page.
And we're being featured in a movie called Dummy Crash the movie, and they won't even allow our videos to garner 10,000 views. And we have over 1.7 million followers.
Right.
Well, your voices, Diamond and Silk, have not been silenced, even by that hurricane. We know you were displaced a little bit. We're glad you're safe and sound, and we're still thinking about the people of North and South Carolina, so we hope you're doing well. We appreciate you coming in.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, ladies. Have a great weekend. Turning to other stories making news this Friday morning, and we begin with this. U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley, opening up about the New York Times botch story on the State Department spending over $52,000 for curtains in her UN apartment.
I hadn't even taken the job when these curtains were picked out. And so the idea that this came out, we told the reporters that these were the facts. They knew the facts and they released the story anyway.
Ironically, just this week, the New York Times sent out a tweet asking for people to flag them for false information ahead of the midterms. Take a look at this. A police officer saving a woman from getting hit by an out-of-control truck saved her just by inches. That cop checking on the woman after she was involved in another accident when the truck comes speeding around the bend. Wow, that was close. Disgraced former NFL quarterback Colin Kaepernick's attorney now hinting at a return to the football field.
I would just say stay tuned, that next week there may be some news.
Mark Garrigo suggesting to TMZ Sports that the Raiders and Patriots could be interested in signing Kaepernick. It comes as Harvard University prepares to give the anthem kneeler the W.E.B. Du Bois Medal. The French
E.B. Du Bois.
E.B. Du Bois. To look up who that is. Next month, the award goes to leaders in the African American community. Past recipients include Muhammad Ali and Oprah Winfrey. Liberal Hollywood director Michael Moore says he'll move to Canada if his new anti-Trump movie gets too much backlash.
How the did this happen?
Fahrenheit 11/9 opens today and compares the president to Hitler. Moore tells the Canadian press the president hates democracy and, quote, I want us to survive this, but I can't make any guarantees that that's what's going to happen. Several celebrities vowed to leave the U.S. if President Trump won the election. There's a picture of all the ones who've said they're going to leave.
Guess what?
Did any of them leave?
No.
They're still here.
They're still here.
All right. You know who else is still here? Janice Dean. It's been a crazy week for weather, and she's outside our world headquarters, and it's a pretty nice start to this Friday.
It's a beautiful day here near New York City. We're starting to feel that fall air move in. By the way, first day of fall officially arrives tomorrow. Let's take a look at the maps real quick, and I will show you where we've got cooler air, 67 right now in New York City, 82 in Chicago. That's ahead of a cold front. We got a big old cold front that's moving through that brought severe weather across the upper Midwest and will continue to bring heavy rains across the Arklatex, parts of Texas and Oklahoma and Arkansas. In some cases, several inches of rain in a pretty short period of time as that front remains stationary. So we will watch that as it moves across the Mississippi River Valley. Here's the next 3 days. The good news is we're going to remain dry across the Carolinas, but those rivers are going to remain at major or historic flood stage. There's your forecast today. Rain across the southern U.S., and then we'll potentially see severe storms over the Great Lakes and the interior Northeast. And it is the first day of fall tomorrow evening at 6:50-ish p.m. Back inside. And Ainsley, did you have a wonderful birthday?
I did. Thanks to you and so many others, Janice. It was a great day.
We have to make it an official holiday next year.
Well, it was
I
yesterday.
appreciate it. Okay, I'm looking up W.E.B. Du Bois. That's how you pronounce his name. He was a civil rights activist, and he was one of the founders of the NAACP. God bless him.
All right. Meanwhile,
now we know.
18 minutes before the top of the hour, President Trump blasting lawmakers on both sides for not getting him money to pay for the wall.
Because of the Democrats' obstruction, only $1.6 billion. We could knock that wall out in 1 year if they gave us the funds.
Pete Hegseth here with a message for Congress. As you can see, he's next.
Plus, Dan Bongino, Alan Dershowitz, and Geraldo Rivera, they're all here. They're all live this morning after Pete.
Stop.
President Trump taking both Democrats and Republicans to task last night for failing to include border wall funds in the spending bill approved by the Senate.
We started the wall a year ago. We've done a lot. Sadly, because of the Democrats' obstruction, Only $1.6 billion. Sounds like a lot, but it's not. I'm not thrilled, but after the election, they're all telling me we're getting our wall the way we want it. So let's see what happens. We could knock that wall out in 1 year if they gave us the funds.
Here to react, Fox and Friends weekend co-host Pete Hegseth. Good morning, Pete.
We'll see you this weekend.
I can't wait. 8 hours together all weekend. It's
a
going to be
preview
fun.
will come in a track.
Right. Okay. But we keep hearing the money's going to come. The money's going to come. But if Republicans lose the House in November, isn't it going to be harder to get that money?
Oh, what a convenient excuse. Now, we really wanted that wall. We were going to deliver that wall, but now the Democrats control the House and, well, they want to open the border up to everybody. You can tell the president's instinct here. He wants the fight. He wants to dig in. He knows. He hears the crowds. The wall is the signature issue that motivates his number one, immigration. It's what got him where he is. And to punt beyond the midterm is a risk. It's a clear risk because this has never been a priority for establishment Republicans. It's never been a priority for Republican leadership. Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan have other priorities. This is the president's priority. In my opinion, now would be the time to dig in and fight to galvanize your base. I understand he's made an agreement with them, but it's a big roll of the dice based on the House of Representatives.
So when people are at the rallies and they're talking about build the wall, and the president says we're going to build a wall, and then you ask one of the establishment Republicans, the leadership, they'll go, absolutely, we're behind the president on border security.
It's all, you're exactly.
Border security. Wait, and it's where's the wall?
It's always that traditional politician look. It's absolutely, after the election, we'll do exactly what we said we were going to do, and then we're never going to do it because the interests that fund us don't want us to fund it. Corporate interests and others that are interested in an open border. You're right. It's always a fence or border security or surveillance or tightening the security on the border.
Drones.
Never the wall. The folks who voted for this president want a wall. It can be built. The prototypes are real. All you got to do is fund it. And $20 billion, $25 billion in Washington, D.C., Ed, you know,
Not real.
It's like a rounding error. If they wanted to do it, they could do it.
There is a list of Republican senators who voted against the spending bill. Jeff Flake, Mike Lee, Rand Paul, David Perdue, Ben Sasse, and Pat Toomey.
It's kind of like the leaders of the Never Trumper caucus, except for maybe Rand Paul. David Perdue, Mike Lee here or there. But, Ben Sasse and Jeff Flake and Bob Corker. Sure. Guys like that have been secretly working against this president from the beginning. So it's a razor edge majority in the Senate that they have, but the House is the key issue here.
Pete, you were here on the couch. It was about 6 months ago when the president signed the last giant Spendapalooza bill. And he said afterwards, I am never going to sign another one of those big bills unless there's money for the wall.
You were here, too.
Yes,
I called it the swamp budget. I thought it was a swamp budget. Total rejection of the president's key priority. Here we are again. I get political prerogative. I get you have to make a deal here to get through the midterm. But you're right. That was a promise made. Hey, we're never going to do this again. It's a skirt past the election. There's no more wiggle room after that. If they do hold the House, they better build the wall or they've missed every single window of opportunity. Right. So wake up, Washington. Washington never wakes up. Politics. They Trump and they still can't wake up.
Well, Pete's up now. He'll be up all weekend. Yeah. We look forward to seeing you.
We'll be watching you tomorrow morning with Ed.
All right. Looking forward to it. All right. The best basketball player on the planet renewing his feud with the most powerful man on the planet. What LeBron James is saying about the president. That's coming up.
Plus, are you tired of getting calls like this?
I'm calling from the Health Insurance Enrollment Center.
This is Todd with
I'm
the
calling
Fulfillment
because health
Department.
Yes, we are all sick of those. Well, it's only getting worse, unfortunately. Really Kurt, the cyber guy, here with tips to cut through the spam coming up next.
Hello.
Kurt, now they're calling our cell phones.
I know. Just to wish you happy birthday.
What will happen next?
Not. Hey.